Toyota traction control. Everything you need to know and how to turn it off. So you're driving, minding your own business, everything feels normal. And all of a sudden, the traction control light flashes on your dashboard. Maybe it stays on, or it just blinked. And perhaps you've never touched that button in your life and you're wondering, should I be worried right now, or is my car just being dramatic? Well, in this video, we are covering everything you need to know about truck traction control lights for Toyota cars. The meaning. What happens if you turn it off? Should you even be driving with the light on? Does it even affect fuel mileage? How to turn off traction control, and finally, how to turn it off without the button. You see, the traction control is one of those features that almost every car has, but most drivers don't really understand. A lot of people don't know when to use it, how it works, what the light means, or why sometimes you actually should turn it off. And honestly, the system is massively helpful until it's not. Which is why I'm breaking down everything in this video, so stay with me. Let's jump right into it. How do you know if your car has traction control? First things first, how do you even know if your car has traction control? The answer is simple. If your car wasn't built in the Stone Age, you've probably got it. Most modern vehicles, especially anything built after the early 2000s, come with traction control as standard equipment. And the easiest way to confirm it is to just check your dashboard lights. Or you can look for the traction control button in the following location, depending on your vehicle make. 1. Below the left side of the steering wheel. 2. The center console, just by the climate buttons. 3. Around the shifter. 4. Up near the overhead controls, and sometimes inside the touchscreen settings. You should be looking for a symbol that usually looks like a little car skidding with wavy lines under the tires. When you start your car, that light normally turns on for a second or two, then shuts off, just letting you know the system did a quick self-check. If you've never noticed it, pay attention next time you turn the key or hit that push to start. It's usually right there in your face, but people just ignore it because it flashes for such a short time. Some cars even have track, TCS, or ESC icons. Toyota calls it VSC, Vehicle Stability Control, and track, Traction Control. Different names, same basic idea. And if you're wondering why do some people's cars have a traction control button and yours doesn't? Don't worry, we will soon get to that, because there are ways to turn traction control off even without a physical button, as you will see on most cars. But before that, what does traction control even do? When the TSC light is on, it keeps your wheels from spinning when they lose grip. Basically, it is just a safety feature designed to prevent your tires from slipping. And how does it do that? 2 main ways. It reduces the engine's overall power. Your car's computer literally tells the engine, chill out, when it detects wheel spin. When this happens, you might feel your acceleration cut for a moment. That's traction control stepping in for your own safety. Number 2, it applies brake pressure to individual wheels. Now here's the cool part. The traction control can apply braking to just one wheel at a time. So let's say your right front tire is spinning on ice, but the left one still has grip. Traction control clamps down on that spinning tire to balance out the traction. Kind of like when you're walking and slip with one foot, you naturally shift weight to the other foot. Your car does the same thing. So what does the traction control off button do? Now, if your car does have a traction control button, you've probably thought, okay, why does this button even exist? Why would I ever turn this off? Great question. When you press that button, whether it's labeled track off, TCS off, VSC off, or just a little skidding car icon, here's what happens. You're telling your car to stop preventing wheel spin. The engine won't cut power. The wheels are allowed to spin freely. The system basically takes a nap. But turning traction control off doesn't make your car unsafe, it just gives you more control in certain situations. And we'll get into those in a few minutes. Let's break down some specific Toyota examples while we're on the topic. Toyota traction control button, track was VSC. Toyota is a little extra with their systems. They usually give you 2 levels. Track, traction control. VSC, vehicle stability control. Track stops wheel spin. VSC helps your car stay in a straight line during sharp turns. Most Toyotas let you turn track off with a quick press, but if you hold the button, you might disable both track and VSC. This is super common in RAV4s, Camrys, Corollas, Highlanders, basically the whole Toyota lineup. So if you drive a Toyota and hold the button too long, don't freak out if extra lights pop up. It's normal, you just disabled more than one system. RAV4 traction control button. RAV4s are interesting because Toyota programmed them with off-road logic. When you turn traction control off in a RAV4, you're actually helping the vehicle dig into snow, mud, or sand a little more aggressively. Toyota knows RAV4 owners love to pretend they're going off-roading even when they're just parking at Starbucks. So the system gives you more wheel spin when you disable it. So yeah, if you've got a RAV4 and you get stuck somewhere, that button becomes your best friend. How to turn on traction control. Most of the time, traction control is always on by default. But here's how to turn it back on if you accidentally disabled it. Tap the track off button once. Restart your car. This resets the system in many models. Check the dashboard. If the track light disappears, you're good. If the system won't turn back on even after pressing the button, that's usually a sign of a deeper issue, and we'll cover that later when we talk about the warning light staying on. How to turn off traction control without a button. A lot of newer cars don't come with a button at all. Manufacturers realized too many people were turning it off and spinning out in the rain like they were filming Fast and Furious 12, so they started hiding it. But here's the thing, you can still turn it off. Different brands have different combinations, but common methods include holding the brake plus pressing the start button without starting the engine. Some Fords and Chevys use diagnostics mode, going into the infotainment settings. A few newer European cars hide traction settings in their touchscreen menus. Long press combinations. For example, pressing the brake, holding the ESP button and turning the wheel. Using the drive mode selector, sport mode or track mode automatically reduces or disables traction control. And the final one, pulling the ABS fuse. This is not recommended unless you know what you're doing, because ABS and traction control share sensors. But yes, mechanically, if you remove power from the module, traction control dies instantly. What does turning off traction control actually do? Okay, let's get into the meat of it. When you turn traction control off, you're allowing your wheels to spin freely without the computer stepping in. So what changes? You get more wheel spin. Good thing sometimes, terrible thing other times. The engine won't cut power. Your accelerator responds instantly, no interruptions. Your car stops trying to correct your traction. So you're driving more raw without electronic assistance. Imagine you're stuck in deep snow. When traction control is on, your car cuts power because it thinks the wheel spin is a problem. But sometimes, you need exactly that wheel spin to dig through the snow and get traction underneath. That's where turning traction control off becomes helpful. Should you drive with traction control on or off? Let's settle this once and for all. 99% of the time, traction control should be on. Why? Because it saves you from losing control in everyday driving. Rain, wet roads, loose gravel, sudden acceleration, tight turns, emergency maneuvers. Traction control reacts faster than you ever could. It's constantly scanning wheel speed 20-30 times per second, which is something no human could do. So, for everyday driving, keep it on, period. But there are exceptions though. What happens if traction control is off? Here's the fact, when traction control is off, your car becomes more honest. There's nothing to protect you from. Wheel spin, fishtailing, sliding, and oversteering. On dry pavement, this might not be obvious, but once the road gets even slightly slippery, you'll feel the difference fast. If you're not experienced with controlling sliding tires, things can go sideways really quickly. Why would anyone turn traction control off? You might be thinking, okay, so if it's so useful, why even give me the option to turn it off? Here are the real situations where it helps. When you're stuck in snow or mud, traction control can stop you from digging out. You need wheel spin to build momentum. When you want full throttle without interruption. Drag racing, dyno testing, track driving. Wheel spin is part of performance tuning. When you're off-roading, loose terrain requires momentum. Traction control kills momentum. When your traction control system is malfunctioning, sometimes you turn it off just to stop the car from cutting power every 10 seconds. Benefits of turning traction control off. Let's break down the advantages in clear terms. Better control in deep snow. More aggressive acceleration. Wheel spins when needed. Improve performance in track settings. No power interruptions. More predictable throttle behavior. But don't let these benefits fool you. Traction control being off has some big downsides too. Downsides of traction control. Here's what traction control can do that annoys drivers. It kills your acceleration, especially when merging into traffic or trying to pass someone. It becomes overprotective in winter, Some cars shut down throttle aggressively, which actually makes it harder to move. It can't fix uneven tires or worn suspension. If you're constantly slipping, the system might freak out. It makes burnout or drifting impossible. If that's your thing, traction control is your enemy. Does traction control affect steering? Directly? No. Indirectly? Absolutely. Here's why. When traction control kicks in, it applies brake pressure to one or more wheels. That can make the steering wheel feel like it's fighting you for a second. For instance, if your right rear wheel loses traction during a turn, the system might break that wheel to stabilize the car. You'll feel a tiny tug in the steering. Totally normal, but traction control doesn't mechanically change how your steering works. It just affects how your car distributes force. Traction control in winter, on or off? Alright, this is a huge one. If you're driving on packed snow or ice, keep traction control on. You want as much stability correction as possible. But if you're stuck, like actually stuck, not moving, wheels spinning, then turn traction control off temporarily to help your car dig for traction. As soon as you're free, turn it back on. Rain, better with traction control on or off? On, always on. Rain is sneaky. You can hydroplane without warning, especially at highway speeds. You want every stability aid working in your favor. Turning it off in rain is basically asking for a slide. Does traction control make your car faster? Short answer. Turning traction control off can make your car accelerate faster in certain situations. But here's the catch. If your tires don't have great grip, turning it off actually makes you slower because you waste energy spinning instead of moving. So for most cars on normal roads, no, traction control off won't make you faster. But on a track with good tires, absolutely. Does traction control affect fuel mileage? A tiny bit, yes. When traction control is active a lot, like in snow or gravel, your car may use more fuel because it's constantly adjusting engine power. But if you drive normally, traction control has almost zero impact on fuel economy. Why is my traction control light staying on? This is where a lot of people panic. If your traction control light is staying on, not blinking, just glowing, that means the system is either disabled, malfunctioning, or the ABS system has a problem. Common causes: bad wheel speed sensor. Each wheel has a sensor. When one fails, traction control freaks out. Damaged tone ring. This ring helps your sensor read wheel speed. Dirt or cracks cause issues, such as ABS module failure or low-quality tires or mismatched tire sizes. If your wheel speeds don't match correctly, the system flags an error. Steering angle sensor issues. This tells your car how much you're turning the wheel. If the light stays on, traction control is not working, which means if your car slips, you're on your own. Worth getting checked. Yeah, I know we have covered a ton of information, but here's the key takeaway. Traction control is there to help you, not slow you down. It keeps your car stable, keeps your wheels from spinning out, and keeps you from losing control when the road gets unpredictable. But like any tool, it works best when you understand how and when to use it. So whether you're driving a Toyota, a RAV4, or anything with a traction control system, now you know exactly what that button does, when to press it, when not to press it, and what to do if that light decides to stay on.